Hello and welcome to this special edition of World Have Your Say. For the first time in 28 years, Britain is hosting a papal visit. Pope Benedict flew into Scotland on Thursday. He's in London now. As expected, tens of thousands of pilgrims and well-wishers have turned out to see him. But there have also been protests at the sex abuse cases within the Catholic Church and at the millions of dollars the UK government is spending on his visit. There have also been sharp warnings from the Pope of the consequences of excluding God and religion from society. We're going to get reaction from across the UK and, of course, from those of you watching around the world. Here's how to take part. Call us on country code 44 2070 83 72 72. You can text us from your mobile phone on country code 44 7786 20 60 80, or you can email us at worldhaveyoursay@bbc.com or add a comment on the blog at worldhaveyoursay.com. And if those weren't enough options, you can also get in touch through Twitter and Facebook. All the details at worldhaveyoursay.com. Now, keeping me company here in the studio is Emily Fennick, a former religious education teacher and a Catholic. Emily, very good to see you.
Thank you.
And we also have Chris Morgan, a tax advisor and also a Catholic. Thanks for coming in, Chris.
Good afternoon.
But we're going to start off with a guest in Glasgow. Liz attended Mass with the Pope yesterday. Liz, tell us about the experience.
It was just absolutely wonderful. I couldn't have anticipated how wonderful it actually was. Sorry.
Can you explain to us? Well, it looks like your microphone's gone walking. Well, there you go. You can hear us now. That's absolutely fine. Tell us a little bit more about why it was so wonderful.
Well, to me, because of the problems before and what the media was expecting the visit to be like, you know, the protesters, etc. I was a bit apprehensive, but I felt that the whole visit, the whole atmosphere, the whole ambience in the park was absolutely wonderful.
And as such, Chris, should we see the trip so far, the visit so far, as a triumph in adversity?
I think it's been absolutely fantastic. It's been more than we could have expected, particularly just to see the crowds who welcomed him, 125,000 people in Glasgow lining the streets, but to listen to what he said as well, to see his humility and also the depth of what he's saying, reaching out to people. I think it's been great.
OK, so two positive views. I wonder if Richie Thompson agrees. He's the president of the National Federation of Atheist, Humanist and Secular Student Societies in the UK. Richie, you're live with us from Westminster. I'm guessing you're maybe not quite as enthusiastic.
No, I'm not. Amongst the things that the Pope said yesterday is he took issue with the increasing secularisation of Britain, and he also stated that Nazism was a form of extreme atheism, when in fact I don't know whether, you know, that's particularly relevant. Many Nazis were Catholics, including Hitler himself, but whether he was a Catholic or an atheist I think is irrelevant, because the issue of religion has nothing to do with the problems of Nazism.
Well, let's you mentioned these comments that the Pope made about secularism and about society. I wonder if we can pull up a couple of quotes onto the screen to read this to you, because it's very interesting, and to be honest, this has been picked up a great deal online. You can discuss it at worldhaveyoursay.com if you'd like to. Just while we're pulling that up, did you, Emily, take any offence at the attack on secularism which the Pope and some of his colleagues have made?
No, I didn't take any offence at all, because I do think that we are in rather a secular society, a society which has been taken over by materialism. So to that extent I do agree. I do take issue with the fact that I'm not quite sure that I want the Pope to be on a state visit. I think the pomp and ceremony that goes with a state visit is perhaps not in keeping with the leader of the Church. Mm-hmm. I think it should have been a purely pastoral visit. Wales included, perhaps, and Ireland.
OK, well, those of you watching in Wales and Ireland may have views on that. Just before you come up, I think come in here. I think it'd be useful to look at this quote that the Pope said yesterday in Edinburgh. If we can just pull that up. As we reflect on the sobering lessons of atheist extremism of the 20th century, let us never forget how the exclusion of God, religion, and virtue. Let's just see what the rest of that quote. Public life leads ultimately to a truncated vision of man and of society, and thus a reductive vision of a person and his identity. Chris, you're nodding. Do you
Yeah.
agree with that? That we are less as human beings and as a society, wherever we may live in the world, if we don't have God and religion?
And he said virtue as well. So I think what he's saying is, when we exclude God, religion, and that's any sort of religion, so a belief, a quest for what is my meaning in life, and virtue, if we exclude that, then we get the atrocities that we saw in the last century with Nazism and Marxism. And I think most people would say they excluded God, religion and virtue totally. Now, the Pope was not in any way saying that anybody who's an atheist is like that. In fact, he started off the visit by saying he held out a hand of friendship to everybody. What he was just saying is, let's be careful that we don't exclude religion totally and become sort of fundamentalist atheists, because that's the danger he was pointing out.
And just before we bring in Sharon on the phone and Tom in Sao Paulo as well, Richie, explain to us why you don't think there are reasons for concern if you have a society without God and without religion.
Well, there seems to be some kind of, implication here that those with religion are more moral than those without, and I would very much dispute that. You can get people, if you look throughout history, you can find people who act in immoral ways who are both religious and irreligious, and I think that the levels of morality that individuals display...
Chris, you're nodding.
I totally agree with you, Richie. I think we're on the same side. What we want is, again, what the Pope has been talking about, the common good. So I'm very happy that you're an atheist and you live your atheism, and I would like to share with you the desires that you have for the common good. All the Pope is saying is religion ought to have its place as well. No one belief should be able to crowd out the other. In other words, we shouldn't say nobody can be an atheist. Equally, atheists should not say people who have religion are not allowed to act according to their religion.
But what has been interesting looking online is the way that some people have reacted to these comments and said this seems too them and us. Why does the Pope appear to be intolerant of those who don't believe in God? I'm not saying he is intolerant, but that's how it's been taken online by some people. If you want to call us up, by the way, if you're watching BBC World News, wherever you are in the world, we're ready to take your call on country code 44 2070 83 72 72. Let's speak to Sharon, who's on the phone. She's in London. Thanks for joining us on World Have Your Say. Sharon, what's your point?
Hello. No, I just wanted to say that I am Jewish, and I think it's extremely important that the Pope is here on this visit, and I think that he is trying to embrace all religions to the exclusion of none. And getting back to what you were saying about secularism, he warned against the more aggressive forms of secularism. And I think that the fuss that's been made in the media about so-called remarks about atheism are totally misconstrued. And I don't think he is in any way trying to exclude atheists. I think he's trying to embrace everybody and saying that we should all work for the common good.
And to add a little more context to this, one of his senior papal aides, who actually hasn't made the visit because of ill health, we're told, Cardinal Walter Casper, set this whole debate rolling just before the Pope arrived by referring to the UK as a third world country and saying that this was partly to do with aggressive secularism.